we'd like to do at this time, and thank you, by the way, for coming down. We have the majority of our students here. Some left already, that's okay. It's past their bedtime, we understand. The teachers and myself picked out a few that we'd like to perform in front of all of you, if that's okay. When I call your name, if you decide you don't want to, that's fine. Just offering it to you. But we didn't get to see everyone in every room, so that's why we like to do this. And we would like to start with some of the young ones, if they agree. And I'm going to call Paige Ortega first.
Hi, I'm Max Ernest. today, I am Max Ernest, the Magnificent. And I'm going to do a magic comedy act. That's comedy plus magic. Get on with it, Max Ernest, and use the microphone, said Mrs. Johnson, not very gently. Cass groaned. It was even worse than she feared. Okay, I was just about to tell a knock-knock joke. Here it is. Knock, knock. Now somebody say, who's there? Who's there? Shouted a man in the corner. Who's there? Shouted a woman in the opposite corner. I am. Get it? Max Ernest looked out at the audience expectantly. Nobody else laughed. Just then, Yo-Yoji ran onto the stage from the wings, his guitar around his neck. Say I am again. I am? Said Max Ernest, surprised. Yo-Yoji puffed his guitar, making that sound you hear on television after somebody makes a joke. Wah, wah. This time, everybody laughed. Slunk down in her seat, Cass smiled gratefully. Thank you, Yo-Yoji. Okay, now for some magic, said Max Ernest, gaining confidence. I need somebody who's really beautiful and really, really nice to volunteer. Amber? Everybody craned their necks to look at Amber, who was sitting in the front row. She looked at Max Ernest, startled. Next to her, Veronica applauded loudly. Go, Amber! She stood up, feigning modesty. Well, I don't know, but if he really wants me to. As Amber stepped onto the stage, swinging her hair, Max Ernest gestured behind him, where the gateway to the invisible stood in the spotlight, on loan from the Magic Museum. Look at this booth here. Looks totally normal, right, Amber? Right, Max Ernest, she said, smiling at the audience to show she was taking this very seriously. But actually, it's a door to another dimension, the invisible, said Max Ernest dramatically, or almost dramatically. Okay, now, close the curtain behind me after I step inside. She did. Knock, knock, he said loudly from inside. Who's there? Replied Amber, playing along. Nobody, declared Max Ernest. Now open the curtain. As Amber opened the curtain, Yo-Yoji played some spooky, build-up-the-tension type chords. The booth was empty. The audience gasped, then burst into applause. Not bad, Cass thought. Maybe he won't be such a disaster after all. Now, close the curtain, said Max Ernest, who was missing. As soon as Amber closed the curtain, Max Ernest pulled it open again and stepped out. He said, how about that? More applause. Victorious guitar chords. Now how would you like to disappear, Amber? She smiled nervously. Okay, I guess. Max Ernest held up his bandana. First, you have to put on this blindfold. Looking straight at the invisible can be a very scary and disorienting for somebody who's never experienced it before. Whatever you do, do not take the bandana off. Obviously reluctant, but afraid to show it, Amber allowed him to tie the bandana around her eyes and escort her into the booth. But when the curtain closed behind her, the audience heard Amber cry and protest. Hey, what's happening? Help! Relax, Amber. You are now invisible. While Yo-Yoji strummed his guitar repeatedly, almost like a drum beat, Max Ernest opened the curtain with a flourish. She was gone. How about that? More victory music, more applause, most of it from Cass, who couldn't stop smiling. If only Amber would disappear forever. And now, as Yo-Yoji strummed, Max Ernest once again closed and reopened the curtain. But this time, the booth was still empty. The audience tittered nervously. Yo-Yoji stopped playing and looked confusedly back and forth between the booth and Max Ernest. Huh, said Max Ernest, scratching his head. I guess the magic was a little too strong. He closed and opened the curtain again. Still empty. Everyone squirmed in their seats, uncertain what was happening. Sorry, Mr. Johnson, this has never happened before, said Max Ernest, making a big show of his confusion. I think we lost her. Mrs. Johnson looked outraged. Well, you better find her. Suddenly, the loudspeaker crackled. Dry the parking lots, boomed a spooky voice with just a hint of Italian accent. It was a stampede, led by Cass. When they got outside, people pointed, giggling. Amber was stumbling around the parking lot, blindfolded, her hands out in front of her. Where am I? Somebody help me! Of the whole school, only Mrs. Johnson was not amused. Everybody else cheered for Max Ernest, even Amber's friends. How did he do it? They asked over and over, impressed and amazed. Cass had an inkling of an answer when she saw Pietro walking quickly out of the parking lot. He waved at her, then disappeared into the distance. She waved back, grinning from big pointy ear to big pointy ear. Who said being a member of Dangerous Secret Society didn't have its benefits?
Thank you, Sarah. If it's okay with everyone, I'd like to call 4 more. There would be an 8th grade and a 7th grader. So I'll just give you a time frame here. They're about 5 minutes each. We'll start with Alex Shepard.
Now, have any of you ever wondered why unicorns aren't real? Or how Paul Bunyan would chomp down trees no matter where he is? Well, I got a couple poems about these things. Now, in this poem, this will explain why unicorns aren't real. The Unicorn by Shel Silverstein. A long time ago, when the earth was green, there was more kind of animals than you've ever seen. And they run around where the world was being born. And the loveliest of all was the unicorn. There was green alligators, long-necked geese. There was humpy bumpy camels and chimpanzees. There was cat-sandra elephants. But sure as you're born, the loveliest of all was the unicorn. But the Lord seen some sinning and caused them pain. He says, "Stand back. I'm going to make it rain." He says, "Hey, brother, no. I tell you what you do. Go build me a floating zoo. And take 2 alligators, a couple of geese, 2 humpback camels, and 2 chimpanzees. Take 2 cat-sandra elephants. But sure as you're born, Noah, don't you forget my unicorn." Now, Noah was there, and he answered the calling. And he finished up while the ark started pouring. And he called out as they went. And they called out as they went through. "Hey, Lord, I got your 2 alligators, your couple of geese, your humpback camels, and your 2 chimpanzees. Got your cat-sandra elephants. But Lord, I'm so forlorn. I just don't see no unicorn." Oh no, looked out to the driven rain. The unicorns were playing silly games. They were kicking, splashing in the misty morn. Oh, them silly unicorn. Then the goats started goating, and the snakes started snaking, and the elephant started elephanting, and the boat started shaking. And the mouse started squeaking, and the lion started roaring. And everyone's aboard but the unicorn. I mean, the green alligators, the long-necked geese, the humpback camels, and the chimpanzees. Noah cried, "Close the door, because the rain is pouring, and we just can't wait for that unicorn." Then the ark started moving, and it drifted with the tide. And unicorns looked up from the rock and cried. That's why you've never seen a unicorn to this day. You'll see a lot of alligators, lots of geese. You'll see humpy bumpy camels, lots of chimpanzees. You see cat-sandra elephants. But sure as you're born, you're never going to see no unicorn. Now, before I start with this poem, have any of you been to the Paul Bunyan restaurant/store in Minocqua? Well, if you haven't, you'll know all about Paul Bunyan. Paul Bunyan, by Shel Silverstein. He rode through the woods on his big blue ox. He had fists as hard as chopping blocks, 500 pounds and 9 feet tall for Paul. That's Paul. Talk about working. When he swung his axe, you could hear it ring for a mile and a half. Then he'd yell, "Timber!" And down she'd fall for Paul. Talking about drinking, that man's so mean, he never drink nothing but kerosene. And a 5-gallon can is a little bit too small for Paul. Talking about tough. Well, he once had a fight with a thunderstorm on a cold, dark night. I ain't saying you won, but it don't storm at all around here, thanks to Paul. He was 90 years old when he said with a sigh, "I think I'm going to lay here and die. Because sunshine and sorrow, I've seen it all," says Paul. And he says, "There ain't no man alive can kill me. No woman around can throw me. And I think heaven might just be a ball," says Paul. He says, so he died, and we cried. It took 18 men just to bust the ground. It took 24 more just to lower him down. And we covered him up, and we figured that was all for Paul. But late one night, the trees started shaking, and the dogs started howling, and the earth started quaking. And out of the ground with a "Hey, y'all, come Paul." He shook the dirt off his clothes. He scratched his butt and wiped his nose. "You know, being dead wasn't fun at all," says Paul. He says, "Up in heaven, they got harps on their knees. They got clouds and wings, but they got no trees. I don't think that's much of heaven at all," says Paul. So he jumped on his ox with a fare thee well. He says, "I'll find out if there's trees in hell." And he rode away. And that was all we've seen of Paul. But the next time you hear a "Timber!" yell, it sounds like it's coming from the pits of hell, then a weird, devilish, ghostly wail, like someone's chopping on the devil's tail. Then a shout, a call, a crash, a fall. There ain't no mortal man. That's Paul.
Three more presenters. I'd like Abedis Sarkeesian to come forward. Just stand back.
Do your parents say and do one of the most unbelievable things? Well, you can probably relate to these poems by Jack Palutsky about quirky moms and dads. My first poem is about my mom's famous meatloaves, and it didn't become famous because of its flavor. My mother made a meatloaf. It provided much stress. She tried her best to serve it, but she met with no success. Her sharpest knife was powerless, just to cut a single slice. And her efforts with the cleaver, well, that failed completely to suffice. She whacked it with a hammer, and she smacked it with a brick. But she couldn't phase that meatloaf. It remained without a nick. I decided I would help her, and assailed it with the drill. But the drill made no impression, though I worked with all my skill. We chipped it with a chisel, but we didn't make a dent. It appeared my mother's meatloaf is much harder than cement. Then we set upon that meatloaf with a hatchet and an axe. But that meatloaf stayed unblemished and withstood our fierce attacks. We borrowed bows and arrows, and we fired at close range. And it didn't make a difference, for that meatloaf didn't change. We beset it with a blowtorch, but we couldn't find a flaw. And we both were flabbergasted when it broke the power saw. We hired a hippopotamus to trample it around, but that meatloaf was so mighty that it simply stood its ground. Now we manufacture meatloafs by the millions, all year long. They are famous in construction, building houses tall and strong. My second poem is about the son that is just annoying his mom not to throw out his favorite shirt. Ma, don't throw that shirt out. Ma, don't throw that shirt out. It's my all-time favorite shirt. I admit, it smells peculiar. and it's stained with grease and dirt, and that it's missing half of its buttons, and has got so many holes that it might have been infested by a regiment of moles. Yes, I know that I've outgrown it, that it's faded and it's torn. I can see the sleeves are frazzled. I am aware the collar is worn. But I've had that shirt forever, and I swear that I'll be hurt. If you dare to throw that shirt out, it's my all-time favorite shirt. My third poem is about my dad that is thoroughly mad. And to be honest, I can't understand why. I wonder why my dad is so thoroughly mad. I wonder why my dad is so thoroughly mad. I can't understand it at all. Unless it's the bee still afloat on his tea, or his underwear pinned to the wall. Perhaps it's the dye on his favorite tie, or the mousetrap that snapped in his shoe, or the pipe full of gum they found in his thumb, or the toilet sealed tightly with glue. It can't be the bread crumbled up on the bed, or the slugs that someone left in the hall. I wonder why my dad is so thoroughly mad. I can't understand it at all. My last poem is about something that my dad does that is louder than thunder. And it's not what you think. Louder than a clap of thunder. Louder than an eagle screams. Louder than a dragon blunders or a dozen football teams. Hut hut. Louder than a four-alarmer or a rushing waterfall. Louder than a knight in armor jumping from a 10-foot wall. Louder than an earthquake rumbles. Louder than a tidal wave. Louder than an ogre grumbles as he stumbles in this cave. Louder than a stampeding cattle. Louder than a cannon roars. Louder than a jang's rattle. Now, that's how loud my father snores.
Thank you, Elise. I've asked Micah Stump to come forward.
You've all heard the story of the three little pigs and the big bad wolf, yay? Well, today I'm going to tell you about the story of the three little wolves and the big bad pig by Eugene Trivizis. Once upon a time, there were three little wolves with soft fur and fluffy tails who lived with their mother. The first was black, the second gray, and the third white. One day, their mother called them together and said, "Go, my children, fight this time. Go where the house face goes. But beware for big bad pigs. Don't worry, Mother, we'll watch out for him," said the three little wolves, and they were off. Soon, they met a kangaroo pushing a wheelbarrow full of red and yellow bricks. "Please, will you give us some of your red and yellow bricks?" they asked the kangaroo. "Certainly," said the kangaroo, and she gave them lots of red and yellow bricks. And so the wolves built themselves a house of bricks. The next day, the big bad pig came prowling down the road and saw the house of bricks the wolves had built. The wolves were playing in the garden, and when they saw the pig coming, they ran inside and closed the door. The pig knocked on the door. Little wolves, let me come in." "No, no, no," cried the three little wolves. "We will not let you in, not by the hair on our chinny chin chins." "And I'll huff, and I'll puff, and I'll blow your house down." And so the pig huffed and puffed, but the house didn't fall down. But he wasn't called big and bad for nothing. He went and fetched his sledgehammer and knocked the house down. The wolves made it out just before the bricks collapsed, and they were very frightened indeed.
We need to build a stronger house.
They said to each other. Then they ran into a beaver who was mixing concrete.
Please, may we have some of your concrete?
They asked the beaver. Certainly, said the beaver, and he gave them lots of buckets full of messy, sloppy cement. And so the wolves built themselves a house of concrete. The very next day, the big bad pig came prowling down the road again and saw the house of concrete the wolves had built. The wolves were playing battledore and shuttlecock in the garden, and when they saw the pig coming, they ran inside and locked the door. The pig rang the doorbell.
Ding dong.
Little frightened wolves, let me come in,
No, no, no.
cried the three little wolves.
Not by the hair on our chinny chin chins. We will not let you in.
Then I'll huff, and I'll puff, and I'll blow your house down. And so the pig huffed and puffed and puffed and huffed, but the house didn't fall down. The pig wasn't called big and bad for nothing. He went and fetched his jackhammer and smashed the house down. The wolves made it out, but their chinny chin chins were trembling.
We need to build an even stronger house.
They said to each other. Then they saw a rhinoceros coming down the road with a truck full of iron bars, metal plates, heavy padlocks, and barbed wire.
Please, will you give us some of your iron bars, metal plates, heavy padlocks, and barbed wire?
They asked the rhinoceros. Certainly, said the rhino. He also gave them plexiglass and reinforced steel chains because he was a kind-hearted and generous rhinoceros. And so the wolves built themselves a house that you could never imagine to be destroyed. They felt absolutely safe. The very next day, the big bad pig came prowling down the road as usual and saw the house the wolves had built. The wolves were playing hopscotch in the garden. When they saw the pig coming, they ran inside and locked all 37 padlocks. Little frightened wolves with trembling chins, let me come in, said the pig.
No, no, no.
Cried the three little wolves.
Not by the hair on our chinny chin chins. We will not let you in.
Then I'll huff, and I'll puff, and I'll blow your house down. And so the pig huffed, and puffed, and huffed, and puffed. The house didn't fall down. But he wasn't called big and bad for nothing. He went, got some dynamite, laid it against the house, lit the fuse, and the house blew up. The wolves barely made it out, and they made it with only their fluffy tails scorched.
Something is wrong with our building materials.
They said to each other.
We must try something different. But what?
Then they met a flamingo pushing a wheelbarrow full of flowers.
Please, will you give us some of your flowers?
They asked the flamingo. Certainly, said the flamingo, and he gave them lots of flowers. So the wolves built themselves a house of flowers. The very next day, the big bad pig came prowling down the road as usual and saw the house of flowers the wolves had built. The wolves were playing in their garden again, and when they saw the pig coming, they ran inside and closed the door. The pig rang the blue bell. Ding, ding. Little frightened wolves with trembling chins and singed tails, let me come in,
No, no, no.
cried the three little wolves.
By the hair on our chinny chin chins, we will not let you in.
Then I'll huff, and I'll puff, and I'll blow your house down. And as the pig inhaled to start huffing and puffing, so lovely that the pig began to sniff and sniff and sniff until he was full of the fragrance. His heart grew tender. He realized how terrible he'd been. He decided to become the big good pig. He started singing and dancing. At first, the wolves were worried. It could be a trick. But then they realized that the pig truly had changed, and they ran outside to play with him. First they played pig pog, then they played piggy in the middle. And when they were all tired, they invited him in. They offered him tea and raspberries and wolfberries, and told him he could stay as long as he liked. The pig accepted, and they all lived happily ever after.
Our final presenter tonight, here, Austin Danita. I believe Austin is doing a demonstration speech.
Yeah, buddy.
Can we get someone to help him move that?
That table's wiggling.
We've demonstrated already.
Oh.
Spring is here. The summer is right around the corner. Do you want to change your bicycle tire to show your parents that you're growing up all by yourself? Well, if you listen closely, you'll be able to do that in no time. The first thing you need to do to make things easier is turn your bicycle off. Then, what you need to do is, there should be 2 nuts in the middle of the wheel. Screw those off and place them aside for later. After you've done that, there should be 2 washers facing towards the bike next to these. Slide them off and place them aside. Then, to make things easier, squeeze the tire and pull it out. Put your bike aside. So, you have your rim. To get the tire off of the rim, you need to push the opposite direction of the way you were facing. So if you push this way, the lip of the tire should come over the rim. What you would do is put your fingers in the tire and pull around the tire until the lip of the tire is off the rim. Then what you would do is turn it around and push the tire off of the rim and pull. Place the rim aside for later. Then you would take out your pop tube, throw it away, and get your new tube and place it inside of the tire, as such. Make sure that the entire tube is in the tire. Make sure that none is exposed, and make sure that the nozzle of the actual tube is faced outwards instead of inwards. After you've finished all of this, this is where the rim comes into play. As so. Then you get your rim. There should be a hole in your rim, and so, right there. Get your nozzle of your tube and line it up with the hole and pull through. As so. Then what you would do is turn your wheel upside down. You need to prepare for this. And pull the tire over onto the rim. Pull, push, whichever one you need to do. This thing's difficult, it's not easy. If you're having trouble, just keep at it. As I said, if you're having trouble, just keep at it. Make sure that the whole lip of the tire is inside the rim, as so, on both sides. There should be a direction with an arrow, as so, points this way, so this is the way the wheel should turn. You squeeze your tire, push it into the brakes, and push it into place as so. The washers should have lips on the actual washer. The lips need to go towards the bike and push into your grip as so. Then you get your two nuts and screw them onto the bolt as so. And tight. Then you have a changed tire.
Thank you, Austin. I was always wondering how that was done. Now I can change my bicycle tires. All right, I really appreciate you sticking it out with us tonight. I know it's late. And some of the ones that didn't get up tonight that would like to, we decided we're going to keep this set up tomorrow and then maybe have some children perform during lunchtime. I know some are anxious to do that. I would love to get everyone up, but it's very difficult. We'd be here till you know what. So thank you so much for coming, and we'll see you at the next event. Oh, was I supposed to announce the spaghetti? Can everyone just hold on a second? We have a spaghetti fundraiser coming up on May 16th, thank you. And if you would stop at the back table and talk to Debbie McKay about the tickets and such, that'd be great. Thank you very much.